Myth: marijuana is highly addictive. Millions of Americans seek treatment every year because they become dependent upon marijuana. Quote, marijuana is a much bigger part of the American addiction problem than most people realize. There are now more teens going into treatment for marijuana dependency than for all other drugs combined. John P. Walters, U.S. Drug Czar, 2001 through 2008. Fact: marijuana lacks the physical and psychological dependence liability associated with other intoxicants, including tobacco and alcohol. Very few cannabis users voluntarily seek drug treatment for pot addiction. The majority of marijuana smokers in drug treatment were arrested for pot possession and ordered into treatment as a condition of their probation. Is cannabis addictive? All of us have probably known at least one person in our lives who we thought smoked too much pot, but there is certainly a difference between doing something too much, in the opinion of others, and being addicted. Are marathoners addicted to running? Are Red Sox season ticket holders addicted to baseball? Putting aside these analogies for a moment, let's look at what the science tells us. Numerous reports, including one by the prestigious British medical journal The Lancet and another cited in the New York Times, have found cannabis's risk of physical or psychological dependence to be mild compared to most other drugs, including alcohol and tobacco. In fact, two experts in the field, Drs. Jack E. Henningfield of the U.S. National Institute on Drug Abuse and Neil L. Benowitz of the University of California at San Francisco, reported to the New York Times that pot's addiction potential is no greater risk than caffeine's. Pot's relatively low risk of dependency was affirmed by the nonpartisan National Academy of Sciences Institute of Medicine, which published a comprehensive federal study in 1999 assessing marijuana's impact upon health. Its authors determined millions of Americans have tried marijuana, but most are not regular users, and few marijuana users become dependent on it. The researchers added, although some marijuana users develop dependence, they appear to be less likely to do so than users of other drugs, including alcohol and nicotine, and marijuana dependence appears to be less severe than dependence on other drugs. How less likely? According to the 267-page report, fewer than 10% of those who try cannabis ever meet the clinical criteria for a diagnosis of drug dependence, based on the DSM-3R criteria. By contrast, investigators reported that 32% of tobacco users, 23% of heroin users, 17% of cocaine users, and 15% of alcohol users meet the criteria for drug dependence. But what about the oft-repeated claims that more people are in drug treatment for pot than for all other drugs combined? As usual, the devil is in the details. According to published statistics, up to 70% of all Americans enrolled in drug treatment for cannabis were ordered there by the criminal justice system. By no definition are these people addicts in any literal sense of the word. According to 2006 statistics provided by the U.S. government's Substance Abuse Mental Health Services Association, SAMHSA, more than one-third of those in treatment for pot hadn't even used the drug in the 30 days prior to admission. Rather, they are average Americans who have experienced the misfortune of being busted for possessing a small amount of weed, who are forced to choose between rehab or jail. Yet prohibitionists disingenuously claim that these admission rates justify the need to continue arresting pot users, even though they are well aware that it is America's marijuana policy, not marijuana use, that is fueling the surge in drug treatment.